Hello, podcast, YouTube family listening to the Danette May Show. I just want to say hello, and I'm glad to have you here. You are worthy. And I want to talk about intuition today. Let's dive into how do you cultivate your intuition? How do you know when it's your intuition versus just fear? And what's happening this time of year right now in our lives? Welcome to the Danette May Show, where you'll receive profound breakthroughs, courage to break old patterns, and live into your soul's purpose. Each week, I will bring you epic guests and live coaching to remind you of your power. You have the ability to achieve extraordinary things, and the time to start is now. All right, let's jump right in. So, you guys, I'm just hanging out and feeling called to leave a message with all of you and really talk about the power of intuition and how every single one of you has intuition. Every single one of you is inspired, is in tune, has knowings, is somewhat psychic. Doesn't mean you need to be a psychic, but I'm just saying that all of us have this ability inside of us. We have just become more disconnected from it, but it doesn't mean you can't reignite it, re-see it, feel it, and really trust and lean into it. And I want to talk about this because the years of my early stages in my first relationship, my first marriage, I turned off my intuition all the time because it served me. It served me in the fact that when you listen to your intuition, it's going to tell you when you're making mistakes, where you're needing to self-correct, where you're needing to apologize. It's also going to tell you what friendships you're keeping that you probably shouldn't. It's going to tell you what behaviors you are taking on that you probably shouldn't take on. It's going to ask you to possibly pivot. And some of this is not easy to hear or to know about. Therefore, we turn it off because we're like, I just want to pretend that's not the truth. It's almost easier for humans to stay in the comfortableness of their life, to stay in what they know versus stepping out, honoring their internal truth, changing things, having tough, difficult conversations. But your intuition will do that. So ask yourself, am I turning off my intuition because I'm deeply afraid of what it's actually telling me? I don't actually want to face it. I actually don't want to do the things I need to do to pivot. I don't want to have that kind of conversation because most of the time we're so sneaky and so clever that we just do this subconsciously. And then we just say, oh, I don't have intuition, or I don't know. We use that statement a lot. I don't know, when actually you do know. You do know, your soul knows, but we just will say that as a defense mechanism to not move forward, to not do the things that our deep soul is asking us to do because it feels scary. It's downright scary. So how do you cultivate this relationship with intuition? Because I think that all of us can agree that sometimes we want this intuition. We want it turned on when we're going to make a business deal, or if we're walking late at night by ourselves, or when we have a decision to make with our child, or whether we're going to move from one state to another state, or to a new home, or take on a particular job. We would like to have that intuition, but if we're so good at turning off the hard things we don't want to hear, we're not going to hear the things we actually do want to hear. So you have to be willing to face all of it to really turn on that intuition. So I want to voice that for you right now, that it's not just a come and go, like I'll listen when it's convenient. You're going to listen to it at all times, and it's going to take warrior work to step into the truth. Because the truth is, some of you are in relationships that are quite toxic. You are holding on to friendships that are keeping you in a shame loop. They are dragging you into their low frequency vibrations, which, by the way, they never really can drag you into low frequency vibration. That's on you. But that's all they do, is constantly talk negative. They only want to stay in the negative, and you're entertaining it, right? Or you're in a relationship with a lover. Maybe it is your long-term partner, and you're not having the tough discussions because your intuition's telling you something's not right, but you really don't want to face off with it. Because what does that mean? What do I have to do to change this relationship or to have those tough conversations? And I might possibly lose them. Or there could be anger or uncomfortableness. And as a child, you learned that having uncomfortable conversations was not safe. So maybe you're like, I just want everything to feel easy, everyone to just quiet down. But your intuition's not going to let that, because your soul always is seeking the truth. Your soul is always seeking the truth. And it's up to us to be brave enough to step into that truth. So let me tell you that, once again, all of you have intuition. All of you. Everyone listening has intuition. And it's subtle. It's a subtle knowing. Some of us have knowings in our gut, knowings in our awareness. Some of us see things, like our mind will flash a scene and we're like, wow, I can't unsee that. That is intuition. Some of us are hearing certain things over and over. For example, if you hear someone say 3 different times, or 3 different people, or 3 different instances, you hear the same thing, take that as a clue. That's intuition. That's spirit moving through people or objects to repeat something 3 or more times to get your attention. So waking up to the truth that it lies within your body, either you're knowing, you might have a visceral effect in your body, you might see it in your mind, or it's getting repeated multiple times to your ears, your auditory. Now, how you turn on your intuition even more is a daily practice. No different than going to the gym and having a very regimented workout routine to build a certain physique. It takes consistency. Same as if you were writing a book. You can't just sit down and write one book in one sitting. It takes consistent day after day of writing a little bit by a little bit until the whole book is complete. Same with sewing something. If you do art, you understand this fully, that to finish a piece of art, you have to stay consistent in the energy of and continually work on that piece. Even on days that you may not feel inspired, you get into motion, you get into action until the inspiration sparks. There's no difference, right? If you're building a house day by day, you got to stick with it, whether it's raining or sunshine or your team isn't cooperating, you got to keep building that house. So with intuition, it requires a daily practice, and I like to do it in the morning when I'm fresh off the press from bed, because I'm less filled up with the world and its own frequency. I'm filled up with my own frequency of the night before, renewal frequency, and a little bit less of the whole world coming at me. So before I open my phone, before I open email, before I really converse with anyone in the outside world, I converse with my soul. This is the best way to turn on your own inner voice, your own truth, your own dialogue with a higher power, which you could call God, which you might call source, which you might call universe. But tuning into that higher power and connecting soul to soul with that higher power. And you do that by journaling. You do that by the daily consistent practice of saying, I want to tune into this. I want to hear with new ears. I want to see with new eyes. And when you have that intention that you're going to do that, it doesn't mean it's perfect. It can be messy. You might not feel inspired at all in those morning practices. Your meditation might feel like your brain just raced a million different thoughts. That's irrelevant. It's the daily continually showing up. The intuition feels safe to come forward. The truth of your soul has a space to speak without judgment. And I always write in my journal, what would you have me know? I write gratitudes. I get my frequency quite high, and I close my eyes and I breathe and I just focus on my breath. So feeling the air, filling up my belly, going down my chest, going into my belly, and then exhaling out, just staying focused on my breath. And I notice as I focus on my breath, that opens pathways for deeper insights that my soul is wanting to express. Oftentimes people will say, oh, I can't sleep at night. I feel like I'm getting bothered at night. And they don't actually like the quiet. They distract all the time because the soul tries to come at the night because it's the only time you're still. So when you have a morning practice, the soul goes, oh, I know this person's going to get into stillness, so I don't need to keep them up at night. They don't have to take a million sleeping pills. They don't have to they're going to tune in and listen to me so I can speak during this time. And it will come with time as you build up this relationship. Getting out in nature. This is huge. So every morning I get out in nature. Nature is the biggest teacher we have. It teaches us on abundance. It teaches us on a symbiotic relationship with one another. The roots grow together. They use and filter water through the earth to sustain them. They use the sun. It's a reminder of all different types of beauty, power, regrowth, the seasons. All of it is teaching us different evolutions of our own life. It's just a huge mirror of what's going on in our own lives and how we get to rise up, to grow wherever we're planted, and to remember that we're all beautiful. We look at nature and we just go, it's beautiful. And there's all different kinds of nature, all different kinds of plants and rocks and water streams and stars. And we think it's all beautiful. And the truth is, all of us are beautiful. All of us have filaments that nature is reflecting at us. So I get out in nature, journal time, asking, just saying, please give me insights. I'm open. I'm willing to listen. And then when you do get a hit, whether you know it's a true intentioned or inspired hit or not, you act on it. And you start to build this relationship with your higher self that when you get a hit, you will get into action. So maybe someone's name or the energies of someone's soul keeps coming up in this soul time. Reach out to them. It's your soul pinging you to reach out to them. Just say, hey, how are you doing? You came into my awareness. And oftentimes when you do that, they'll be like, how did you know I really needed someone to reach out, or I'm going through this? You'll start to get clues of your intuition, and it'll be a reminder that you're close, that you're following the right steps. If it asks you to write or asks you to call someone or go somewhere or do something, do it and see what comes from the other end of your action. But you can't just receive information and then not act. So that first step is just getting into a daily practice of saying, I'm going to commune with you. You're allowed to talk. My higher self is allowed to talk. My inner wisdom is allowed to come through, or a higher power, God, universe, source, whatever you believe in, can come through to me. In prayer, in meditation, in gratitude journaling work, in walking in nature, it can come through to me. And then the second step is listening. Third step is taking action on what it's telling you. And this is where it gets juicier and juicier, because then you're going to start to see, what relationships am I keeping? Where could I actually save money or invest in this thing to acquire more money, or step into this job or do this action? It will guide you for sure, but you've got to be brave enough to let go of certain relationships, to let go of certain patterns, certain beliefs, so that you continue to grow into the fullest expression of who you are. This is so key right now. We need women rising up into their fullest expression. I believe women are the most untapped resource humanity has. You, my friend, are powerful. You, my friend, hold power within your cells. Deep inner knowing, wisdom, intuition. We need you turned on. We need you tuning in to your spirit, to your guides, to your truth, without the outside noise of the world of how you should be or how you should think or who you should be divided from, or all of the woes and foes of the world. Tune into the higher frequency of your inner knowing and march to that drum. March to that drum. We need this in women. We need to all support each other in this endeavor of, it is not selfish to take time to tune in. It's not selfish to do prayer. It's not selfish to do breath work. It's not selfish to take time in nature by yourself. It's necessary. We need you. We all have our own assignments, and some of us is just to be in frequency of love and learning to love ourselves more. For others, it's to speak up. For others, even then, it's just to be the embodiment of. For some of us, it's to be great teachers to our children. For others, it's to be teachers beyond even our families. But whatever it is, it will talk to you, it will call to you, you will understand and hear it very clearly. And then you just have to ask, am I brave enough? Am I brave enough to honor the voice within? I love you guys so much. I hope this has been helpful. I believe in you, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Danette May Show.